I'm doing a little bit of an impromptu live show tonight. Guys, the weather has been absolutely atrocious lately. So really can't get into ride along videos or anything like that. I'm going to try to get one on the T-Bird maybe tomorrow. We'll see if it ends up happening. But basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to clean up this GSX-R 1000. The last time I rode it, it was for a ride along video. And it had rained, it was kind of gross. And anyway, I'm getting all the spray and all the funk off of it. Plus, with the weather being so, well, unpredictable, it's been like bugs and all other kinds of stuff. So I'm trying to get all the dead critters, insects, whatever off of this thing. But what I wanted to do, kind of bring you guys along for the ride. This is just kind of what I'm up to this evening as I'm getting everything kind of cleaned up. This bike is still going through break-in. And so what I'm doing is I'm just basically, as I'm cleaning it up, just nut and bolting everything pretty much. That's the main thing that I'm up to with it. Going through it, make sure there's nothing weird or strange or anything like that going on with the bike. So anyway, I figured I'd bring you guys along for the ride. And one of the things that I also wanted to talk about was, for other markets, I've been doing quite a bit of, there's just some, you ever ride your bike or drive your car and you didn't really get it dirty, but there's this like some kind of in the air kind of weird stuff? That's what I'm trying to get off of the bike too, man. Some kind of, I don't know, nuclear fallout or whatever the hell got on this thing. But anyway, a lot of markets don't get bikes like this, and we don't get a lot of the European market bikes. There's some really cool stuff that's out there, and Ryan said, "Pauling, DM's in. Oh, I got the bald guy with the shades. I like it." I don't know, man. We got bees, we got birds, we got bugs, and it's the a couple of days after Christmas. It's kind of messed up. Christmas Eve, we had this huge storm come through down here, and bad lightning storm. Lightning hit one of the feed lines to the neighborhood that I live in, lit the feed lines up, fried pretty much all kinds of stuff. There's lights flickering. It fried my internet. It fried my cable box. It fried, what else did it fry? Anyway, I got lights that don't come on. Anyway, just one of those days. But it sucks, but you get through it. But anyway, this is what I'm up to. And while I was doing this, I got to thinking, with some of the bikes that are going to be coming to the States, like the R9, the RCR 900, the new V2 Panigale, there's bikes that are out there right now that we don't get, namely the Hornet 750. We don't get the XSR 900 GP. There's some cool stuff that we don't get, but a lot of folks don't get leader class bikes. And it's kind of funny that, we don't have that. Hard Rock saying Street Fighter V2, that's still going to be a thing. That's going to have the new V2 Panigale engine in it. And that is also going to power the Multistrada as well. So there's some cool bikes that are coming up, but it's one of those things where you got to look at it from, like, every one of these things has a price point, I guess is what I was getting at. And while I was trying to, get all the floral and fauna off of my bike, one of the things that I got to thinking about was, when you look at what the super middleweight class of bikes is going to cost, the R9 is going to be $12,500. That beats the GSX-R 750 by about, it beats it by somewhere around $1,000. But then you get into the rest of the field. The V2 Panigale is going to cost about as much as this bike right here. And you've got the RCR 990, which is also going to be somewhere in the price range of this thing, a GSX-R 1000. And I know that there's a lot of folks out there that say, well, a certain amount of power is great for the street or whatever. The problem with that is this bike. And as I'm getting to know this bike a little bit more, the weird thing about this bike is I immediately gelled with it too. That's something that doesn't really happen that often with me with bikes. But this bike is so much more in terms of performance. But it's also so much more laid back in a lot of ways, or at least as laid back. And I know that because I have a super middleweight. I've got a 1998 Triumph Daytona, which is a 955. It's basically the same bike that is coming out next or this coming year. And I can tell you that it's every bit as powerful as a GSXR 1000 up to about 9,000 RPM. And you can't really tell the difference. So in that respect, you could say, yeah, this other bike, the new super middleweights are going to be great. Right up until the point that you ride one of these things. And then you figure out pretty quickly that this bike gives you all the sedate, happy, good vibes and love that these new super middleweights are supposed to give you. But the reality is that you also get some power to go along with it. I guess where I'm going with this is that this bike, it's taught me a pretty valuable lesson when it comes to leader class bikes. Not only are these things not the boogeyman, they're actually one of the coolest, chillest bikes that you can have. Even though they make a ton of power, the GSXR 1000 kind of doesn't. It almost, I don't want to say this and don't take it the wrong way, but this bike to me, it almost feels slow. And I don't mean that like in a bad way. I mean that I don't feel like I have to be just wound up and high strung to ride it. I can be chill and relaxed at a very advanced pace with this bike, and it never feels overwhelming. And yeah, we could all want for a little bit more horsepower here and there, but the reality is that for this bike to be scary, it would need another 20 or 30 horsepower, and it just isn't. It's just a fun bike. So anyway, I wanted to let you guys in on what I'm up to. Yeah, it was kind of gross the other night, or the other day when I rode the bike, but then the storms came and lightning came and zzz, you know it's bad. I'll put it to you like this. You could taste the ozone in the air when the lightning hit. That's how close that strike was. It was loud enough to where I thought that it had broken a window. So I guess it hit right behind my house, but the reality is that when it did hit, it fried half in the neighborhood and started blowing people's internet boxes and everything else up. So anyway, let me check in with you guys real quick. See what y'all are up to on this impromptu live show. Samuel's saying, ouch. Ryan's in. What's up, Professor? DM is in. I like it. Ryan's saying pollen, probably. God, I don't know, man. It is just gross. Hard Rock saying, love that bike. I tell you what, I am a big fan of it too, buddy. Thank you. Sovereign's in. He's out of town, but thank you so much, buddy, for coming in, saying hi. Plex is saying, not only good for your windscreen, it's good for body work. It'll get it off, no scratches. I still use, this is brewed up by was brewed up by a local guy. This is, it's not Chemical Guy. It's in a Chemical Guy's bottle, but this is a product that local company to me was making for a while. I've got like a whole vat of this stuff, and it's really, really good. Detailer and bug remover and all this other stuff. So yeah, definitely good stuff. Whoa, I just blew past everybody. But yeah, all the newer stuff is really good though. But Plexus, I've heard some good stuff about it. Damn, Sam broke his arm. Won't be able to enjoy my cruise in. Holy moly. Andy's in. How's it going, Brian? Going good, man. Oh, Ducati Street Fighter V2. Yeah, that is going to have the new V2 Panigale engine, which is kind of weird that they've gone so far. They've kind of gone backwards, but they haven't. That bike is going to be stupid badass. The only beef that I have with it, if you're going to have beef with a bike, the only thing I have a problem with on that bike is the price. Now, Ducati's always known for being expensive, so you can't really hold that against the bike. But it sucks because for me anyway, because for me, it feels like the only real competition for the GSXR 1000 just ran off, and that was the outgoing V2 Panigale. But this new one's supposed to be really good. Sam saying, I want to see the special edition monkeys. I'll tell you what, the Dax right now is the one that I'm just practically in love with. Arfos is in. What's up, man? Eric is in, saying hello to everybody. Hello, Eric. Ryan's hanging out with Eric. Let's see. Eric's saying, I would get that same bike. Man, I tell you what, I'd get it again. I really would. So it's the funny thing, and this is the only way I can describe the GSXR 1000. It's everything that you wished a GSXR 750 would be. And what I mean by that, okay, so here's what I mean by that. If you look at, like, say you started off with, I don't know, an SV650 or a Ninja 550 or a Daytona 660, something like that. And it's time to graduate up and you get into a bike like a GSXR 600 or an R6. There is such a massive difference between those two bikes. Torque production, horsepower, the whole bit. It's not even going to be close to the same. Once you start getting into the super sports portion of the sport bike class, then let's say you've got that 600, you've had it for a couple of years, and it's time you feel to move up. What's next to move up to? And this is really the part where you've got to be honest with yourself. If you go from a 600 series, a 600cc super sport, to a GSXR 750-ish bike, which would also include, in a way, the outgoing Panigale V2, even though that bike from like initial tip in is quite a bit more powerful than a GSXR 750. It's just a much bigger engine. So that's still kind of a leader class bike though, in a way. Anyway, the point that I'm getting to is you're not going to get the big hit the way that you would with a 1000cc bike if you're coming from a 600. There's such a big difference from an A2 bike to a 600 that you'd be way better off going from an A2 bike to immediately almost leapfrog the 600 and get a GSXR 750 or an R9 Panigale V2 or something like that. And the reason for that is that the only difference between the super middleweight class, which is to say the 900cc middleweight bikes, the only real difference between them and a bike like this is about 3,000 RPM on the top end. That's it. That's where the power difference really does lie. Now, that's an oversimplification, don't get me wrong, and I get that, but I kind of own one of these bikes already. It's just that they had evolved 25 years ago into roughly 120 to 130 horsepower. It looks like a sport bike, handles like a sport bike type of a machine. And all of them had about 900-ish cc engines. So they all made this, I mean, this torque is nothing new. It's the same numbers as back then. So I don't know. For me, the GSXR 1000 is such a familiar place for me because I had a GSXR 750. But these new middleweights, I don't know. I can see why a lot of folks are saying they really will take the place of the 600cc bikes. But man, there's just something to wrapping out a 600cc bike to 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,000 RPM. That you just cannot replicate with a larger displacement engine turning less RPM. The larger displacement turning less RPM is always going to seem like a compromise. You almost have to go in the complete opposite direction where you've got a big displacement twin that is turning low RPM. Kind of like I'm sitting right, my foot's hitting the tire of the Bonneville. You almost need an engine with a character like that to be a bookend for the way those other engines run, because it's all just a bit of a I guess compromise is the only thing that I can really say. Skid's checking in with Eric saying hello. Skid's saying, sup everybody, hope everybody had a blessed Christmas, and you as well. Let's see. Someone saying he just sent Racer X a photo. Okie dokie. All right, GSXR is versatile. Let me tell you how versatile a GSXR platform is. Right now, today, in this moment of 2025, basically, the GSXR 1000 platform from 2005, 6, 7, and 8, that same platform today, 20 years on, is powering the GSX S1000, the GSX F1000. These are all bikes that are either being made today or have recently evolved into something else. The GSX GT, which is like a sport touring variant, all of these bikes have the same engine, chassis, and swing arm as the original GSXR 1000. So to say that it's versatile is an understatement. That bike, I mean, you talk about getting dollar value out of your R&D budget. Holy crap. So yeah, in fact, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on one of those bikes here pretty soon. But yeah, they're, again, you know, the Katana was such a great bike, and I would still have that bike if not for the fact that this bike just really will continue to fit me so much more. It's just more of an appropriate bike for me than the Katana, although damn if that Katana is not a good looking bike. They're saying Christmas was good, very good. Saying Sovereign in the Hizzy. Saying hello everyone. Skid saying hard to beat the Aprilia V4 factory for $19,999. So a buddy of mine just picked up a V4 factory. Oh hell, what is it? The ring edition, the Saccharin ring or whatever the hell it's called. And Soxen ring. Anyway, I haven't seen the bike yet, but by all accounts, it is a hell of a machine. And that was a leftover bike that he got with a factory rebate. And to say that it's hard to beat the Aprilia V4 factory, guys, the problem with the Aprilia V4 factory is that bike, if Aprilia had a bigger, more, I don't know, if they had more dealer support, that bike would be hell to beat for anybody with a sport bike, because you don't have to do anything to it. You can tune it, put a slip-on on it. That's it. That's all you got to do. Oh, and a tail tidy. That's really all you got to do to that bike. And they make a boatload of power. Now, I will say this. Put one of these up against it, and it's surprisingly close. I know what the Aprilia RSV4 is rated at, but baby, this is Suzuki. And you know Suzuki just does things a little bit differently. So, but yeah, they are really, 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 really good. Say 5.7 Chally to a 392, pretty much. Because of course it's one of my favorites. Yes. I was going to say the new V2 doesn't seem far from my Super Sport 950 power numbers. The SS Monster, the Desert X all have 937 cc's. V2 is like 20-ish more horsepower now. Yep. It's not that far off. What a lot of folks are finding out is that there is a, well, for the European market, unfortunately, they don't get these bikes. Not anymore anyway. And so these newer bikes exist to satisfy what is in essence the what is it, Euro 5 Q plus whatever it is. Anyway, that's whatever that is, the emission standard, Euro 5.2, Euro 5 plus, whatever. that is what those bikes are really meant to satisfy. And they do a great job of that, I guess, in that they're just nothing more than, sport nakeds that have been rebodied, or in the case of the V2, it's a completely new bike, but it's a sport bike at its core. Never was a sport naked. So, but all good bikes though. Sovereign has got the ball guy with the shades. Erickson, the Suzuki motorcycle is pretty. Yes, it is. Thank you, sir. Oh, SS950, 110 and 69 versus the incoming V2, which is 125 and 69. Why Ducati do this? No idea. So why they did it is there's a couple of things. So in super sport class racing, the Ducati V2 Panigale, the one that's outgoing, was severely neutered in that race series. Number one. Number two, that bike, a little bit on the expensive side. And so in an effort to not only meet emissions, but to also put together a bike that's a little bit more accessible, that'll compete in super sport and that will be able to compete in price point on the street with the rest of this kind of emerging super sport class. They went this direction with that engine. And they also, keep in mind, they shed like 30 something pounds off the V2 Panigale. So the whole emphasis on this bike was to, for anybody that would ride it, for it to be easy to ride and that it was going to be flickable, like the best handling out of the entire group. And that's why they went the direction that they did with that bike. So probably not what I would have done. It's taken, the thing is I don't own a Ducati, but I've been around it. I should say around them for a hot minute. And they're amazing machines to ride. The V2 Panigale for me, the 955, that was always the Ducati for me, right? Like if I were to have picked one to have in the stable along with this bike, it would have been a V2 Panigale because 155-ish horsepower, bunch of torque. It's got the look, but it's a V2, or I'm sorry, L twin. It's an it's a V2. It's a twin cylinder Ducati. And to me, the V4, I don't know why, I just can't fall in. I know it's a phenomenal motorcycle, but I don't know. If I'm picking a Ducati, I'm going to stick with tradition. And they did kind of go in a weird direction for me with the new bike, but I understand why they did it. And to be honest, the outgoing V2, it's hard to make a case for that bike when you have motorcycles like this that sticker for 16.5, right? And it's real difficult to have, a $20,000 bike in a world of R1s. Like an R1 is around 20. A ZX10R with a couple of options is roughly $20,000. The only motorcycle in the leader class bike class that doesn't really assault your pocketbook is this one right over here, and the Aprilia RSV4. Believe it's odd to say that, but that is kind of how that works out. Like saying H2Rs are sweet. Yeah, the regular H2 is pretty sweet. Ryan saying no uptick of torque. No, not for the V2. In fact, it went down a little bit. DM saying Suzuki really optimized that motor. Here's the cool thing about it. Super simple. It's got a VVT system that's a centrifugal force type of an apparatus is the way I understand it. Crazy simple, based only solely and just all off of RPM as God intended. Super easy. It's just so good. And man, here's the funny thing. In that ride along video, I had said of this bike, it is the throwback. It really is. You talk about retro bikes, the GSXR 750 is the legacy bike for Suzuki as well as the 1000, but 750 has been around the longest. But I guess the point that I'm getting to is this bike comes with incandescent bulb stalks, which are hysterical to me. had to go with the flush mounts. Which, by the way, I think I've got the blinker thing. There we go. So, yeah, glad I did that. Anyway, but it comes with the LCD screen, all of that. But where they spent their time is they got the ergonomics just flipping perfect. And they got the engine right. And that, to me, those are the things that are the most important. Let's see. Oh, Skids. Eric's hanging out with Skids. Skids saying, the only thing is that, your Super Sport's about 60 to 70 pounds heavier. Yeah, but that Super Sport's going to carry its weight really well. I'll tell you what, that Super Sport's a neat bike. I had, when was it? It was about maybe a year and a half ago. I was actually floating around a Ducati dealership when I first saw that bike. It's a good looking bike. But I mean, like, what's the Super Sport weigh? Like 460, 470 wet, something like that. Man, that's the going rate. That's what all the bikes weigh. The ones that are light are the ones that are, like the GSXR 750, the GSXR 600, the 600 class of bikes, really, which does kind of incorporate the GSXR 750. It's the same chassis, same block, all that. Well, technically different block, but same dimensions. What else? The new super middleweights are all in that same kind of weight range also. Their primary drive, the primary drive for the new super sport, super middleweights is to get them as light as possible. So you're going to start seeing bikes, and especially once they start hitting the streets, you'll start seeing bikes that, if people will gravitate towards them, are going to start to be, I'm not going to say they're going to rival the 1000cc bikes only in their ability to be, at least bikes like this one, the GSXR 1000 comes to mind, the BMW 1000 comes to mind here. Bikes that have solid ergonomics and that are known strong performers on the street. You'll start to see the super middleweights be able to kind of hold their own with guys. If you're running at, I've said this a few times about these bikes, if you are doing irresponsible things in a responsible manner, the super middleweight is probably the bike for you. If you are actively not trying to get your bike to step out coming through apexes, if you're not doing that, the super middleweight is probably the bike for you. If you are not trying to back into corners with your Triumph Daytona the way that I did on the ride-along video, then the super middleweight's definitely the right bike for you, because they all have slipper clutches. Fun fact on that, by the way, I may have mentioned this in another live or whatever. First of all, I want to say thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with me on these ride-along videos and putting up with it. And this is part of the whole reason why I wanted to do this live show tonight, just kind of give you guys a quick heads up with the bike stuff. But I'm going to start hopefully here after the first of the year doing the ride and reviews. So you'll have a ride-along video of a bike. Say it's a GSXR 600. You'll have a ride-along video where I'm riding it. I'm giving you my ideas and thoughts on all that. And then you'll have me sitting down at the office. It'll be a part two. It'll be a ride along, and then a review, just giving you my thoughts on what the bike was really like after I've had a chance to, digest it and download the videos. But anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, going through the process of me trying to figure out this whole, ride along style video. And I'm trying to get used to talking and riding and doing all that. And come to find out, it's pretty natural for me to do, I guess. That inner monologue just being vocalized while I'm riding a bike, right? Okay, all that being said, again, thank you all so very much. I appreciate all the love from you guys on that. And I'm hoping to bring you guys a lot more here in rapid succession too. I'm going to try to do one at least I would love to do 2 per month. If I can do more, great. But the goal is to at least get 2 once I get started. Here's the fun thing though. Okay, so a little bit of behind the scenes with the Daytona, or Easter eggs. Watch the tack on that bike. Whenever, it's hard to tell how fast I'm going. But to get an idea of what I am going on about, I'm looking at you right now, dirty girl. Keep an eye on the tack where the needle is. There's a right-hander where the tack's coming right up, and then there's a left-hander where I actually hit the rev limiter as I'm coming through the apex on that left-hander. So look, you can have a right with 130 horsepower, but you have to remember that that bike has the torque of a 955cc bike. Okay, so we're not coming into something with a huge amount of compromise. I know that I've said that that bike is a lot of compromise, and it is, especially when you have something like this that you could get at roughly the same price. It's just dang good. Such a good bike. And it's like the best buddy, you know, it's cool for whatever, you know. But anyway, wanted to throw that at you guys. If you haven't seen the Daytona ride along video, keep an eye on that tachometer. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm on that bike considerably harder than I was on this bike. Ryan saying, gotta ride them all, skids. Yes. For Ducati, I always wanted a Desmo. Yeah, those are nice. Ryan saying, that'll make a big difference in the power in the feel. It will. Saying you're thinking hard about a new Duck, aren't you? Talking to Ryan, or talking to me, you're talking to everybody really, because yeah, I'm always thinking about a new Ducati. I've always liked Ducati a lot. I can tell you that for the Ducatis that I have ridden, which aren't a lot, Tri-9, 748, 848, 900 Super Sport, and that's it. That's all the Ducks I've ridden. I've never found a Ducati that I didn't like, and they're all real easy to ride too. Skid saying, what? I've only ridden the Monster, Scrambler, and Street Fighter. All were awesome bikes. Yes. Oh, Skid saying V2, just to clarify, Street Fighter. I've yet to get on a V4 Duck or ride one. Oh yeah, the Desmo, yeah, the RR from 07. What my favorite is, God, which would be my favorite of the ones that I've ridden? Probably the Tri-9. It's a really good bike. He's got a dream bike. Yes, Eric, yeah, Suzuki engines are very torquey. They've always been like that too. Skids, yeah, claimed weight on the V2 is around 380 and around 400 wet, which is exactly right. Yeah, it's super light. Here's the thing though, we're talking about that one being light. Look at the R9 or the GSXR 750. They're both around 420 wet. So, yeah, you start looking at the weights of these things and it's pretty crazy. But here's a fun fact. This girl right here, from the factory, she's 443. So there's there's a difference, I suppose, but GSXR 1000 doesn't weigh much more than a 600 or one of these, or at least it didn't weigh a whole lot more than its 750 brethren. So yeah, there's something to be said about that too. Hard Rock saying, more idolize, love them. Yes. Oh, Skid's thinking about selling the Duck and getting a bagger. There's some nice baggers out there. Oh, I am, if I can, will be on the T-Bird tomorrow. Speaking of cruisers, been doing some research, some period research on that bike. It's hard to say what it would have competed with back in the day. because Harley Davidson motorcycles back then were still pretty expensive. But like a Softail Slim, a Softail Heritage Softail Classic, maybe, from 2013, I can tell you that if you were to compare it to a bike today, it would be like a Softail Classic-ish. The power and the weight are very similar. Advantage to the Harley Davidson in power and being a little bit lighter, but that's today's bike. Back then, the T-Bird would have had an easy 10 horsepower over the Harley Davidson and have about the same weight. So, just to kind of put it into context, but would have been $2,500 to $3,000 less expensive. So anyway, just trying to get a feel and an idea, because I'm not cruiser guy. I'm really not, but this bike is just so good. So anyway, I'm hoping to do that. Plus, I'm going to be using a chin mount to film the T-Bird. So just some things that I'm trying to get prepped and set up for that. Oh, here we go. Ryan saying baggers are hell of nice bikes, just more bike weight than I want to deal with. Man, I got to tell you, they're not bad once you get them rolling, though. Some of the bigger bikes, well, I say that. I don't have a ton of experience. Really, if I'm being totally honest, the only real amount of experience I have with the cruiser is the T-Bird. And this bike's a little bit of a cheat code in that it's just the ergonomics are so good. But in the rare occasion where I had to move a bike, or I just would take one, do a quick road test on it, of the bike, at that time, of the cruisers that I had ridden, the one that stood out, MT-09, and anything Harley Davidson, at that point in time, most of those were Evo bikes, and they were all really good, like those. Goldfish asking, have you already fit the tank grippers? Which one? No, I have not. Haven't really found a need for them yet. I know a lot of guys like them. I don't really notice having them or not having them. The Daytona has never had tank grips. The RC51 didn't. The GSX-R 750 did not, if memory serves me correctly. So still no tank grips. Oh, thank you very much, Goldfish. I appreciate the kind words. Skid saying, can't wait for more ride-alongs. Skid saying, yeah, you need something big if you're going to be crushing miles. All right, so yeah, 1000cc Gixxer torque is really good. I'm telling you, the GSX-R 1000, it's a weird bike because it really does have the characteristics of an engine that's just simply bigger than what it is. I mean, if you were to tell me that this was an 1100, I'd believe you. And that's another thing about this bike, because it makes so much good partial throttle torque down low, you never get the sense that it's peaky. It just keeps making power. And so I think that's another reason why these bikes are so popular, is that, they're just so easy to ride. Skid saying, I've been on a Road Glide. It was easier to manage than I thought. Also been on a Chieftain. Strangely, it was a little bit more difficult to manage than the Road Glide. Indian Chally is a nice bike. Definitely. But with that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. But I just wanted to hang out with you guys. Just saying thanks again. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me. And putting up with me trying to figure out how to make these dadgum ride-along videos work. I think I've got the helmet, the camera mount set up. I think I've got the microphone is about where I need it to be. I've got an idea for what I can and can't get away with in terms of speed and wind noise with that thing. So that's good to know, just because I'm going to need to be able to, do the ride and reviews when I'm talking about a bike that I'm riding. I need to know that, okay, look, and really the speed, if I start getting into like the 80, 90, 100 mile an hour range, that's really where the audio starts to get broken up. Not really broken up, it's just you get more wind noise. So anyway, I'm rambling on. Guys, thanks again. I appreciate all y'all so much. Happy New Year to everybody. I'll be doing the live show tomorrow night, but this is just a real quick thing to, just again say thanks, let you guys know what I'm up to, and appreciate all of y'all. Get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. And DM saying GSXR is easy to ride, but when you open her up, it's like the hand of God pushing you down the road. That is true. They are really, really fast, but I got to tell you, they're stable, and man, just a great machine. And I'm just blessed to be able to enjoy this. So, but with that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Y'all have a great one. Take care.